Hello everyone, and welcome to the character selection screen, or character creation screen rather, of World of Warcraft. So in this video I'm going to be taking a look at how the character creation screen looks after the launch of Legion. And I'll be going over, for lore purposes, I'll be going over things like the descriptions of each of the races, the descriptions of each of the classes, and then discussing my own thoughts on what are the better combinations of such, how, it differentiate, whether or not there's any differences based on what side you choose, what gender you choose, things like that. So, there's no gameplay or anything like that, so you have been warned. This could be very boring, but if you're interested in this aspect of the game, how it looks now, hope you enjoy. So, first off, let's go ahead and take a look at, I'm going to focus just on each of the races first, and their history and lore that it gives here in the description, and then I'll be looking at each of the different classes. So, first off, let's start with the humans, of course, the main race for the Alliance. First off, each race has their own racial benefits or buffs, things like they get for depending on what race you get for the game. Such as humans, they get increased haste, critical strike, mastery, and versatility. They have a bonus to reputation gains and can break out of stun effects. Humans are a young race and thus highly versatile, mastering the arts of combat, craftsmanship, and magic with stunning efficiency. The humans' valor and optimism have led them to build some of the world's greatest kingdoms. In this troubled era, after generations of conflict, humanity seeks to rekindle its former glory and forge a shining new future. And so then next we have the Dwarves. They may take on a stone form. They have increased effect from critical strikes. They are resistant to frost damage, and they find additional archaeology fragments and survey faster. In ages past, the dwarves cared only for riches taken from the earth's depths. Then records surfaced of a godlike race said to have given the dwarves life and an enhanced birthright. Driven to learn more, the dwarves devoted themselves to the pursuit of lost artifacts and ancient knowledge. Today, dwarven archaeologists are scattered throughout the globe. They delved too greedily and too deep. Next, the Night Elves. They may fade into the shadows, more difficult to hit, wisp form while dead for faster movement, resistant to nature damage, faster movement while stealthed, and faster attacks at night, and increased critical chance during the day. That's a lot of benefits. So I guess I can understand why a lot of people like to play as Night Elves, because look at the amount of benefits you get with this race. 10,000 years ago, not to mention they have obviously a lot of history. The Night Elves founded a vast empire, but their reckless use of primal magic brought them to ruin. In grief, they withdrew to the forests and remained isolated there until the return of their ancient enemy, the Burning Legion. With no other choice, the Night Elves emerged at last from their seclusion to fight for their place in the new world. Next, the cute and adorable Gnomes may escape from speed-altering effects, increased resource pool, resistant to arcane damage, engineering skill increased, attacks faster. Though small in stature, the clever gnomes of Cosmodan have used their great intellect to secure a place in history. Their subterranean kingdom of Nomeragon, is a marvel of steam-driven technology, and their skill at both engineering and the arcane arts have been a tremendous benefit to the Alliance across numerous campaigns. Next, the Draenei. Jewel crafting skill increased, may heal self or others over time. Increased agility, intellect, and strength. Resistant to shadow damage. Look at these guys. Look at that. Driven from their homeworld of Argus, the honorable Draenei fled the Burning Legion for eons before finding a remote planet to settle on. They shared this world with the shamanistic Orcs and named it Draenor. In time, the Legion corrupted the Orcs, who waged war and nearly exterminated the peaceful Draenei. A lucky few fled to Azeroth, where they now seek allies in their battle against the Burning Legion. Next, probably my favorite race here in the Alliance because I'm a huge fan of werewolves, the Worgen. Because as you can see, the Worgen are basically humans that can become werewolves, or I guess Worgen as they're called. Can periodically move quickly, critical chance increased, resistant to nature and shadow damage, skinning skill, and speed increased. The Worgen were first unleashed upon the Eastern Kingdoms by Archmage Arugul during the Third War. Primarily used as a weapon against the Scourge, the beasts soon proved to be a burden greater than the humans of Lordaeron could bear. A mysterious curse began to spread among those who fought alongside the Wolfmen, causing them to become Worgen themselves. The curse rapidly spread as it reached Gilneas, trapping its inhabitants behind the very walls built to protect them. The survivors of the curse now seek to find a new fate for their people, their destiny unwritten. And I'll save the Pandaren for last since they're neutral. Next, we're going to switch from the Alliance to the Horde, and take a look at the Orcs, the main race for the Horde. May enrage to increase damage, resistant to stun effects, damage done by pets increased. The Orc race originated on the planet Draenor, a peaceful people with shamanic beliefs. They were enslaved by the Burning Legion and forced into war with the humans of Azeroth. Although it took many years, the Orcs finally escaped the demon's corruption and won their freedom. To this day, they fight for honor in an alien world that hates and reviles them. Next, the Undead. Look at these guys. Can remove fear, sleep, and charm. May consume corpses to regain health and mana. Ugh. Can drain health from enemies. Resistant to shadow damage. Once mindless slaves to the terrible Lich King, the gruesome Forsaken have overthrown his rule, and now pledge loyalty to the wicked Banshee Queen, Sylvanas. Under her reign, Forsaken armies have reclaimed the ruined kingdom of Lordaeron. Every day is a struggle against vengeful humans who wish to wipe them out, and a constant battle of wills against Horde allies who distrust the sinister motives of the Undead. Which is why sometimes I thought, are the Forsaken and Sylvanas really a part of the Horde? Don't they have like their own agenda? But that's a whole nother discussion for another day. Next, the Tauron. Look at these guys. I love these guys. I love the Tauron. May stomp stunning nearby opponents, increase stamina, which I guess stamina is called health in this game, or no, the other way around. Excuse me. Health, I guess, is called stamina in this game. So they have the most health in the game of any race. Herbalism skill and speed increased, resistant to nature damage, increased effect from critical strikes. Always the Taurons strive to preserve the balance of nature and heed the will of their goddess, the Earth Mother. Many of the nomadic wandering tribes of Tauron have gathered together under a single banner to settle in the fertile plains of Mulgore. Were it not for the timely intervention of the Orcs, the whole race may have been wiped out by marauding Centaur. The Tauron honor their blood debt to this day, fighting alongside the Horde to protect their land. Next, the Trolls. They can berserk, increasing attack and casting speed. Regeneration increase, so I guess they have the most health regeneration. Increased experience gained from killing beasts. Reduced duration of movement, impairing effects. Once at home in the jungles of Stranglethorn Vale, the fierce trolls of the Darkspear tribe were besieged on all sides by warring factions. The Orcish horde came to their aid, convincing the Darkspear to sail across the Great Sea and settle in the untamed lands of Kalimdor. Though they cling to their shadowy heritage, the Darkspear remain vocal advocates of a united horde, lending the strength of their arms and powerful tribal magics to the common cause. Not to mention that apparently they are all from Jamaica, man, as every time I come across each other, like, hey, how you doing, man? What's up, man? How's it going? They always speak with like a Jamaican accent. It's hilarious to me. I just find it very funny. Next, we have the Blood Elves. Enchanting skill increased. Can restore resources such as mana or energy. May silence nearby opponents. Resistant to arcane damage. Long ago, the majestic High Elves created the splendid golden city of Quel'Thalas, built around a magical fount of energy known as the Sunwell. When the Lich King destroyed their capital in the Third War, the survivors turned to the Horde for help. Now known as the Blood Elves, these refugees are all that remains of their glorious civilization. They strive to rebuild Quel'Thalas while struggling against a crippling addiction to the very magical energies that once built their empire. Next, the Goblins. These guys can rocket jump forward, can launch rockets at enemies, receives vendor discounts, can periodically summon a personal bank, their haste is increased, alchemy skill and potion healing increased. Originally the slaves of jungle trolls on the Isle of Kazan, the goblin race was forced to mine Kajamite ore out of the undermine deep in the bowels of Mount Kajaro. Unbeknownst to anyone at the time, the mineral had magical properties that caused the goblins to rapidly increase in both cunning and intelligence. Tinkering their own powerful artifacts of engineering and alchemy in secret, the goblins overthrew their troll oppressors, taking over the island that they now call home. Quickly rising to prominence as masters of mercantilism, goblins and their global trade conglomerates dominate all commerce across Azeroth. And last but not least, the Pandaren. The neutral race, though one of the things you can do when you play a Pandaren is you can have the choice of joining either the Horde or the Alliance at the end of their starting area. They also may put enemies to sleep with a touch of their hand. Inner peace means twice as much rested experience. Increased benefits from eating food. Cooking skill increased. Bouncy and take less falling damage. Shrouded in fog for ages, the ancient realm of Pandaria has remained unspoiled by war. Now that it has been rediscovered, Pandaren heroes are stepping forward to declare their allegiance to either the Alliance or the Horde. The most adventurous of the Pandaren come from the Wandering Island, a mysterious land cut off from the rest of Azeroth and Pandaria itself. So those are all the different races in the game. Now we'll take a look at the various different classes. Starting with the Warrior. Their role can be either tank or melee damage. They can defend. You can defend yourself and others with heavy armor and shields. Charge quickly around the battlefield. Unleash your rage to deliver devastating effects. The sample abilities such as Execute, Charge, Shield Wall. Warriors are plate-wearing fighters who strive for perfection in armed combat. As warriors fight, they generate rage, which is used to power special attacks. Next, we have the Paladin. The role can be either a tank, a healer, or melee damage. You can protect the weak with heavy armor, shields, and holy powers. Wield melee weapons infused with holy magic. Improve your group with powerful blessings. Some sample abilities: Avenger's Shield hurls a holy shield at an enemy. Beacon of Light places a beacon of light on a friendly target, causing any heals that you cast to also be cast on the target of your beacon. And Divine Shield protects you from all damage and spells for a short time. Paladins are heavily armored fighters and defenders who use holy magic to heal wounds and combat evil. They can focus on two-handed weapons, shields, or healing. Next, the Hunter. Role can be ranged or melee damage. Harness the power of the wilds to destroy foes. Look at that. So there's a... it shows you what your initial starting pet can be, although you can be able to change what your pet is through acquiring them via vendors or whatever other means you can they have in this game. So that is not going to be your only pet in the game. You can change your pet. Gain beasts of your choice as lifelong companions. Track, disable, and kill your prey. Some sample abilities: Aimed Shot, a powerful ranged shot. Call Pet, summon your trusty pet to fight by your side. Tar Trap, a trap that creates a pool of tar that slows your enemies. Hunters are at home in the wilderness and have a special affinity for beasts. They rely on their weaponry and their pet to deal damage. Next, the Rogue. Melee damage. Hide in plain sight with the stealth ability. Control your enemies with underhanded attacks. Combo melee abilities to deliver deadly finishing blows. Cheap Shot, Deadly Poison, and Stealth. Rogues often serve as assassins or scouts, though many are lone wolves as well. Rogues can often sneak around enemies or attack an opponent from behind to try and finish them off quickly. Next, the Priest. Their role can be a healer or range damage, protect others with powerful shield and healing abilities. Actually, hold on, so let me see something here. Nope, never mind. Wield deadly shadow magic to destroy enemies, instill fear, and control the minds of others. Some sample abilities: power word shield yourself or friendly target. Prayer of healing, a powerful prayer that heals up to 5 allies. Shadow word pain. Priests are well-rounded healers with a variety of tools. However, they can also sacrifice their healing to deal damage with shadow magic. Now, for example, since I have the human highlighted, but there are certain class combinations you cannot do with certain races. So, no, you cannot have a human be a shaman. And then it'll say, choose one of the following races to be able to play with this class. Either a dwarf, draenei, orc, tauren, troll, goblin, pandarin. So let's switch to an orc. Take a look at the shaman. Their role can be either a healer, range damage, or melee damage. And enchant your melee weapons with spells, call on spiritual power to restore injured allies, use totems to disable enemies, heal, or deal damage. Some sample abilities are Chain Heal, Fire Elemental, and Lightning Bolt. Shaman use the power of the elements to enhance their weapon damage or spells. Shaman summon totems in combat, small objects that disable enemies, heal, or cause damage to enemies. Next we have the Mage. Their role obviously would be nothing but range damage, and it can't be really anything else if you're going to be a mage, because they're mainly focusing on spell abilities that can cause damage. Blast your enemies with powerful range attacks, wield powerful spells that can afflict multiple targets, control the battlefield by freezing or polymorphing enemies. You can be either arcane, fire. There are specializations for each class, by the way. It's not really showing it here, but that's what you can do, is you can be able to get one of 3 different specializations to be able to experience each of the different roles and the different abilities that each of them have. So some sample abilities here. Blink, teleport a short distance. Blizzard, ice shards pelt a large area, dealing damage to all enemies it hits. And Fireball, hurls a ball of fire, dealing damage to your enemies. Mages are the iconic magic users of Azeroth who learn their craft through intense research and study. They make up for their light armor with a potent array of offensive and defensive spells. Next we have, I'm going to switch to the orc here, the Warlock. Obviously, their role is also just range damage. Summon powerful demon servants to do your bidding. Look at that little imp here. That's just an example of one of the things you can summon to, fight for you. Kind of like the hunter with the pets. Curse. Oh, by the way, speaking of the hunter and their pets, so I was showing that, the human one was a wolf. But if I switch the races here, you'll see, the orc has a boar. The undead has a big spider. The dwarf has a bear, which is awesome. The night elf has a tiger, a white tiger. The tauren have this bird-like thing. The trolls have a velociraptor. I am not kidding. Look at that thing. A velociraptor is your pet. Clever girl. A gnome, it's a mechanical pet. It's a mechanical rabbit. A draenei, some kind of bug or insect. A blood elf, that dragonfly thing. A goblin, a crab. A worgen. You don't really get a pet here, it looks like. I thought that would be hilarious, like a wolf for a werewolf. I thought that'd be kind of funny. And a pandarin, a turtle thing. Alright. So anyway, going back to the Warlock. You can curse, drain, and afflict your targets with corruption. Burn your enemies with fire and shadow range magic. Some sample abilities: drain life, drain the life of your enemies, simultaneously restoring your own health. Soulstone, store your soul, allowing you to immediately resurrect after death. Summon demons, summon a variety of demons to fight by your side. Warlocks cast fire or shadow magic to damage, drain, or curse their enemy. They summon demons as servants. Next we have the Monk. They can be either a tank, healer, or melee damage. Master the martial arts. Shrug off damage as you move quickly around the battlefield. Use your mystical powers to heal your allies. Some sample abilities are Fists of Fury, pummel all the targets in front of you. Keg Smash, smash a keg of brew, dealing damage to all enemies near your target. And roll a short distance. Monks are known for their skill in hand-to-hand fighting, relying on their fists and feet as much as their weapons. Monks can also specialize in calling upon the restorative powers of the mist to heal allies. Druid, only a night elf, a worgen, a tauren, or a troll can be a druid. So let's switch to the tauren. take a look at the Druid here. Roll tank, healer, range damage, or melee damage. They are the only class in this game that actually has 4 specializations. All the other classes have 2 or 3. This is the only class in the game that has 4 specializations, which gives you more variety to play with. Shapeshift into the ferocious cat, ranged owlkin, or resilient bear. Call upon the powers of nature to heal yourself and others. Be a true hybrid, able to assume any role. Sample abilities, the bear form, increasing your health and toughness. The cat form, increasing your movement speed and damage. And healing touch. Druids are shapeshifters with an affinity for the planet and animal kingdoms. Druids can specialize in healing, casting spells at range, or taking on the form of a cat or bear to fight in melee. Now, the next one is the class they added for this game, the Demon Hunter. However, I already have a Demon Hunter with me, and it says you can only have 1 Demon Hunter per realm, so I'd have to change realms, but you need to have a character at least level 70 in order to access this. But basically, Demon Hunters are a hero class, which means they can start at a high level. They start at level 98. Demon Hunters are dark outcasts that are used forbidden demonic magic to hunt and kill their enemies, and of course they work for Illidan. They can be either a tank or be melee damage. And then the last class we have, the Death Knight, the servants of the Lich King. They can be either a tank or melee damage. They can raise the dead to serve you. They can attack with melee weapons, spells, and disease. And they start at level 55. So just like the Demon Hunter, they're a hero class, which starts at a high level, which is level 55. Here are some sample abilities, which are Army of the Dead, summons a legion of ghouls to fight by your side for a short time. Death and Decay, corrupt the ground beneath your feet, dealing damage to all nearby enemies. And Death Grip, reach out and grab your target, pulling him to you. Which is kind of funny, because that's a thing you can get in Darksiders. Death Knights are a hero class, which means they start at high level. Death Knights are a melee class with an emphasis on causing diseases and using dark magic. And of course, they work for the Lich King, which gives you an idea of what the storyline is going to be, that you're part of his Scourge army. So that is all the classes and races in the game. So what are some possible good combinations that you could be able to come up with here? Well, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, sadly, like, to me, some of the more, when you think about this, I mean, sometimes if you want to get the most out of your combinations, for example, may enrage to increase damage. So orcs can do more damage. So you could think about a damage dealer, whether it's a warrior here, if you want to have him be a tank. It does say damage done by pets increase, so that means they can be very good hunters, as their pets will be able to be even more effective than other races. Being able to have them be a damage dealer can be a really good idea for some of these different classes here that emphasize damage. When you look at things such as, the humans, there's really nothing here really that specializes for a certain class. Other ones, though, such as, for example, the Draenei, because they have a race ability here which helps them heal self or others over time, you could say that perhaps the Draenei are one of the more effective races when it comes to being a healer in the game. So you could have them be a Holy Paladin, which emphasizes healing. You could have them go with being a priest, as they are probably the more well-known healing class in the game. You could have them be a rejuvenation shaman, which, a restoration shaman, actually, which emphasizes healing as well. Same with a Mistweaver monk. They can't be a healing druid. They're not one of those races that can do that. But these other ones they can do. Some of these other ones here, such as increased resource pool, which means they have more resource to pull from for their abilities. So you could see a spellcaster like either a mage or a priest or a warlock. One of them, they could be able to use that to their benefit. Things like the Worgen, I thought the idea of a Worgen druid being able to, he doesn't just become a werewolf, he's a werewolf that can also become a cat or a bear or something else. I mean, that just, to me, is very cool. Plus, I just love werewolves in general. Some of the other ones here, though, such as the Tauron, because it says they have increased stamina, which I guess basically means they have more health than any other race in this game. I'm not entirely sure. I've heard that they had the most health, but it says stamina, so I don't know. Maybe health in this game is called stamina. But basically, they're one of the more ideal race choices if you want to be a tank in the game. So if you want to go with a warrior Tauron, you know, to be a tank, if you want to go with a tank paladin, if you want to go with a tank monk or a tank druid, they're probably one of the more ideal choices for that. As far as undead, I mean, when you look at their abilities here, can drain health. I mean, that really goes hand in hand with the warlock here because they have drain life here, but then I said they can drain health. It's like you get double that because he's an undead and a warlock because they both have the same ability. So that could be one of the more ideal matchups you could go with for this race is the warlock there. The troll, it says they have they have regeneration increased. Which I guess means more survivability, I guess. So, I mean, you can't necessarily... I mean, they have a ton of different class choices here that you could choose from here. So, you can't necessarily go wrong here with the troll when it comes to that. Plus, you get more experience when you kill beasts out there in the wild. So, if you want to go with a hunter and know that you're going to be out there in the wild and be able to level up faster, you could be able to go that way. So, any of these different ones here, you know... could really go well with hand-in-hand with these abilities here. Plus Berserk, increasing attack and casting speed. So because it increases casting speed, so if you want to go with a spellcaster like a mage or a priest even, you could be able to do that as well. Things such as the Blood Elf can restore resources such as mana or energy, and enchanting still increase. That means, I guess you can emphasize that they are one of the better at either being a priest or a mage. I mean, after all, one of the more famous spellcasting blood elves was Kael'thas Sunstrider. So there's that that you could be able to go with. I mean, goblins, I mean, haste increase, alchemy increase. I mean, so I guess if you want to go with something that can, I don't know, there's really not that much of a benefit other than haste increased. I mean, maybe a goblin or a rogue, I meant. Then again, the fact that they can attack, that gnomes on the other side, they can attack faster, and they have also resistant to arcane damage. You could have them also go with a rogue if you want to emphasize how fast that they can attack, which also can go well with a monk if you're going to be going with a punching like Fists of Fury and as a Windwalker monk. Pandarans, from eating food, inner peace means twice as much resting experience. So, I mean, you can't necessarily... sorry, guys. Apparently, the game gets impatient with me. So, well, I guess that's all I could show you, because the game won't let me, gets impatient if I don't do anything, so... but yeah, that's basically some of the different combinations that you could go with, for either one of those. Just to give you an idea of some of the ones that are ideal if you want to play a certain role in the game, if you're thinking far ahead, like, oh, man, for dungeons and raids, but, I mean, if you're thinking about just the casual leveling experience of just experiencing the game in that regard, don't necessarily worry about that. I mean, if you are someone who actually cares about that, about like, oh man, I want this character to be able to be a healer in raids or a tank or whatever the case may be, I mean, I guess you can do more research into that, but I would say don't necessarily worry about that much if you're going to be just wanting to experience what the game has just from a casual leveling perspective in that regard. So if whatever, strikes your fancy when it comes to the fantasy aspect of, if you liked role-playing, you can be able to just go with what you want. If there's a combination that you really want to do just from the perspective of just creating a character that you can be able to roleplay as, go ahead and do that. So that is the character creation of this game for as long as the game would allow me to look at it. And who knows how much else I'll be bringing in terms of covering this game, and I hope that you guys will be able to stick around to enjoy it. Stay tuned.